Okay, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if this is your first time. This is actually the second vlog for Horror Mayhem 2024. So I don't normally do this format, so I'm quite enjoying doing this, where I gradually build up a video in different locations and create a sense of the progress in the reading for Horror Mayhem. And as it's the second part, the idea is it's like the first one was the local kind of focus. This is going to be on the second week's prompt, which is on books relating to films. So just to start off with, if you've seen the first vlog, I do end it by saying that I had a couple of days left at the end of that week to maybe throw in a quick novel that doesn't relate to the prompts, just to kind of like increase the horror reading. And I thought I'd read my first novel by Ramsey Campbell. So I've read short stories by him, but I've never read a full novel. So this is called Secret Story. And this is a book that came out in 2003, I think. 2006. So this came out in 2006, and I'm going to sort of read it while I'm reading other things with these prompts. But I'm really enjoying it, though. I think he's a good writer, and it's about a man who's a writer who is creating his stories by murdering people. So it's kind of a bit of a serial killer kind of feel, and there's some fantastic characterization in it. All of the characters are really vivid, and the dialogue is very spiky. Really good. Ramsey Campbell, really enjoying this. But yeah, I'm just about a third of the way through at the minute. But that's what I've done for the kind of the gap in between the 2 weeks. And then the first one I decided to start with for a film-related thing. I thought it'd be nice to read a Clive Barker story. So Clive Barker is obviously a very famous author, horror author, one of the most well-regarded British horror authors, I'd say. But he's also a film director, and he wrote and directed the film Nightbreed, which is a really good film, and great score by Danny Elfman, one of my favourite scores by Danny Elfman in Nightbreed. And he also he wrote and directed another one. I can't remember what it was, but obviously Hellraiser film franchise comes from his stories. But I read a book called Sex, Death and Starshine. Sex, Death and Starshine, and it's in this anthology, The Living Dead, an anthology that's edited by John Joseph Adams. He does some really good anthologies. So he did my favourite dystopian anthology called Brave New Worlds, which I've already talked about on the channel. But this is a good one, and I've read it before, but a while back. So I thought I'd dip back into it again, and the Clive Barker story. What was it called again? Sex, Death and Starshine. It's not quite your normal zombies or undead, and it plays around with the life of the theatre, and you can tell that Clive Barker has got some kind of interest in theatre, because he mentions Brecht at one point, and there's loads of different tropes you'd find in theatre, lifestyle and actors, hang-ups, and there's this sort of very natural theatrical lilt to the story, and it's quite a sort of an unusual and almost cute attitude to zombies. So yeah, they're undead, but they're not quite as vicious as you'd expect them to be. So yeah, good story, really good story. I really enjoyed it. And another one that's well written. Ramsey Campbell comes from Liverpool. Clive Barker comes from Liverpool, I'm pretty sure. So somehow I'm stuck in Liverpool. I'll double check this after I've said this on the video, but I'm pretty sure Clive Barker's from Liverpool. So yeah, I seem to have just travelled to Liverpool. But I will just bring out the bingo card. Well, it's like a tick-off sheet here, but there is a bingo card underneath as well. And I'll probably fill both. Well, I will fill both in, and I'll might go between them in the videos. So this is what we got so far. So with all the reading I've done, what pen should I use? I'll use this one, I think. So we've got green cover for packs. That's been done. That was with the Best New Horror 2. Cozy Horror. There was a very pretty vampire poem from Neil Gaiman. Cozy Horror has been done. Cannibalism has been done about 3 times so far. For some reason I kept reading about cannibals. Folk horror, because of the Snow White story. Ghosts, Selecting a Ghost by Arthur Conan Doyle. Don't know if you saw me talk about that one. That was a pretty cool story. Really enjoyed that a lot. And psychological horror. Where's that one? Psychological horror from the Edgar Allan Poe story that I read. Edgar Allan Poe. Have we got anything else? Diverse authors. As Clive Barker is in the LGBTQ community. And Universal Monsters, because I've read the vampire story. Oh, well, it was a vampire poem, sorry. Neil Gaiman's Universal Monsters. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's what I wrote down. 8 so far. 8 things ticked off on the tick-off sheet. I'll do the same thing and the bingo card in case I want to bring that out. But yeah, not bad. I'm choosing my reading relatively randomly, but with the books that I've chosen, and then going to the bingo card afterwards. I'm not being led by the bingo card, but I am going to spread out my reading a bit. If I feel like I've done quite a lot of the bingo card, then I'll read bigger novels rather than just going through short stories. You know, that's kind of my attitude to the whole thing. But this is a great journey through horror for Horror Mayhem, and we're on the film week. So starting with Clive Barker, I am going to go to one of his Books of Blood stories that was made into a film for this prompt as well, for this week's prompt. But we'll see. I might read The Fly first. Anyway, there we go. Week 2. So this is a little bit of an interruption to Horror Mayhem because this week is Fashion Week, and MJ sent me a message saying that the theme of Fashion Week was Garden of Time, which is based on a J.G. Ballard story. So she sent me a message because it's based on a J.G. Ballard story. So I read the J.G. Ballard story because I have it. It's in Beyond Tomorrow. Really cool anthology. I've also got it in a collection of short stories by J.G. Ballard as well. But I thought it'd be nice to pick this one out again because it's a really cool anthology. So Beyond Tomorrow, I read the story, Garden of Time. It was brilliant. Really interesting, kind of metaphorical thing about the fall of the aristocracy and the threat of a mob storming the home of this aristocrat and his wife, and he's got these flowers that they can pause time or send back time whenever they pluck one of these flowers out. It's really cool. Garden of Time. Yeah, good story. Hello. As it's a vlog, I'm going to interrupt this vlog that's supposed to be about reading to talk about my writing for a second, literally for about, 30 seconds. I'm just going to tell you that it's just interesting that I've realised that the collection I was building up to isn't really necessarily the tone that I'd want to release out into the wild. So I'm going to change my plans a little bit because I want my books to have a sort of a lighter edge to them. So there's going to be a whole collection of really dark, sometimes nasty stories, and I'm going to mix that in with some funny ones. So I'm going to put a hold on some of those other ideas I've got and try and steer my writing in a different direction. So I thought it was worth sharing. I think it's important what kind of material you put out there. What kind of author do you want to be? Anyway, back to the reading. The next one in this line of Horror Mayhem stuff, bouncing off the film prompts, is this collection, Out There Screaming. So this is edited by Jordan Peele, famous for 3 brilliant films, I think. Nope was the most recent one, and then there was Us, and then his first massive breakout success, Get Out. If you've seen that, definitely recommend it. And this is an anthology edited by him, all black authors. So this is a quick list of the authors there. And I've read the first story, which is by N.K. Jemisin. So she's famous for the Broken Earth trilogy. I've read the first one. Can't remember what the title is. But anyway, I read the first one, which was good. But this was a story called Reckless Eyeballing. And it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So this came out in 2023, sorry. So this collection came out in 2023. I thought I'd read the first one because quite often in anthologies, the first one's one of the best ones. And it's a really, really good story. There's quite... this might sound a bit weird, but I've been thinking about this because I've just done that video on Ursula K. Le Guin, and she talks about the fact that in her first couple of decades of writing, she wrote as a man. And the prose in this N.K. Jemisin story is quite masculine. It is it's not first person. No, it is third person, but it is quite masculine, which is kind of interesting. But it's about a really dodgy policeman, really, really horrible character. And clearly there's all sorts wrong with what he does. And this sort of psychological horror / body horror that's in this story, that's bouncing off these points that N.K. Jemisin wants to make about corrupt policemen. It's absolutely brilliant. So definitely recommend that story. And a nice way to start that anthology. So it turns out I read, what was it called? Sex, Death and Starshine by Clive Barker in the anthology called The Living Dead. Turns out it's one of the books of blood. So I'm going to be reading another one of the books of blood because it was definitely made into a film, which is called The Midnight Meat Train. So I'm reading that this week, and I'm going to read The Fly, the original story that the 2 films of The Fly were based on, and I'll finish this Secret Story this week. So this would be the Horror Mayhem stuff, and then what I want to do, hopefully get to the point where before, like, I don't know, what are we now? Before like the 14th or something, have some reading done on the Black Death, which is a real life horror story because it was horrific what happened in 1348, where Europe was devastated by a horrific plague, and it's really interesting. So I'm reading that for the Historathon. So I'll be reading some stuff on the Black Death after I've read The Midnight Meat Train and The Fly, and hopefully finish this as well. Hi guys, so I read this. It was a bit of a last minute decision to start it because it's got to go back to the library tomorrow, and it's actually quite short, and I thought, well, I could read it rather than just take it back without reading it. And it turns out I think it fits into Horror Mayhem because it's called Termush, and it's by Sven Holm, Scandinavian writer. It came out in 1969, and this is part of a Faber series where they're re-releasing lost classics, if you like, or sort of well-renowned books that have been forgotten about. And I thought it was really good. It's really interesting. It's not for everybody. I'll try and describe. The prose is quite dry. There's not a lot of characterization in it. It's almost like a instruction manual sometimes, the way it's written. But it is very atmospheric, and it creates this post-apocalyptic, post-nuclear environment, situation where these rich people are in a hotel that's been built for them to be kind of protected from the rest of the world, if you like. And it's set up with that premise, and then it kind of implodes, and it's really interesting. So yeah, it kind of fits. Because a lot of the book keeps consistently referring to management and the instructions they get, how to behave, what they can do, what their freedoms are within the hotel. There's a little bit of a dystopian element to it, I think. So it fits that prompt on the bingo card. And it's a translated author as well. And I just think it's essentially science fiction, but it does nip into horror as well. So yeah, I think it's something I've read just because I had it in the house and I had to bring it back, and I thought, actually I can read this before I bring it back. But it does actually fit the prompts as well, I think. So yes, it was good. I wouldn't recommend it to everybody because of the way it's written. But if you want to give it a go, it's quite short. It's only 115 pages. And I thought it was really interesting. So, Turos by Sven Holm. Hello, I thought I'd do this particular bit of the vlog outside, as it's such a lovely day. Really, really glorious day. And I've read The Fly. So obviously this is part of the film prompts. The Jeff Goldblum, David Cronenberg film is a masterpiece, I think. It's easily one of my favourite films. It's in the top 3 of all time of any film. Love it, love it, love it. So I was keen to read this. There was obviously the Vincent Price film. Actually, this book advertised, it said it's being made into a film. So it's saying that, you know, look out for the Vincent Price one that's coming soon, sort of thing. So I was really keen to read this. And it came out in 1957. Written by George Langelaan, and originally appeared in Playboy. And obviously it's appeared in this collection here after that. And it was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. So it's different to the films. It starts off with a woman who's contacted her brother-in-law to say that she wants to declare that she's murdered her husband, his brother. And she's all sort of freaking out about it. And the plot goes into sort of... it's kind of a mystery, and it goes into areas that you're not expecting, and it's really good. And it's got a really nice conclusion. It's just brilliant, and there's good characterization in it, considering it's quite a short story. But I loved it. It's actually my favourite thing I've read in Horror Mayhem so far. So there's been a few highlights actually, but this was brilliant. The Fly by George Langelaan, brilliant. Definitely recommend it if you can find it. Hello, so this is the last bit of the second vlog. So I'm going to tick off some of the score sheet, some of the bingo card. I haven't actually done the bingo card yet. I've got it behind it, so I won't do that as a final thing. But I've got this score sheet thing that I'll base it off. So I'm going to tick off body horror because of reading The Fly, as you just saw a minute ago. But the body horror also suits the one about the one called Reckless Eyeballing by N.K. Jemisin. That N.K. Jemisin one also fits technological horror because it's all based around cars. So technological horror. Also, we've got dystopian horror because I think I said that Turos qualifies, but I think also because it's arguable, I'm going to put it under adjacent horror as well, because I was a bit influenced there by a video I've just watched of Criminoli, who his definition of adjacent horror made me think, actually, I should put Turos under that as well. So there's that one, and that might be it. Let's have a look. That might be it. That might be it. Yeah. So that's what it's looking like at the moment, at the end of the second vlog. So it's quite a lot. I've ticked off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh no, and translated horror, 13. Because of the Turos one is by Sven Holm. That's translated into English. So yeah, 13. So not bad going. Because we've still got a few more days left of this month, this week, the weekly prompt about film books, I might read Rosemary's Baby because I haven't read this yet and I've had this little while and I do want to read it. So I might read this, but I'm not sure because, would this come on the classic? Let's have a look. When did it come out? 1967. 1967, I think you call that classic. So this could go into next week's vlog under classic horror as well. But it was made into a very famous film, obviously. But the thing is, I want to spend the next few days really having a look at the Historathon and going into a real life horror, and that is the Black Death. So this is the Black Death in the British Isles, and this is the seminal book about the Black Death as well, which I've got a lovely folio edition here, which I did talk about in another video. So got the Black Death here, and I've got Black Death in the British Isles, Scourging Angel. I haven't read this one before. I've read the other one ages ago, so I might start with this one, Scourging Angel. And actually, because it's so horrific, then this probably comes under non-fiction. I did have a book, which I still might dip into actually before the week's over. I've got a book about horror film movie scores, so movie music for horror films. It's a really good book, and I could delve back into it because it's been so long since I read it again. Rereading can be quite rewarding, especially if you've got a memory like mine. So yeah, I could read that for non-fiction as well. But this, I think this works as well because it's out of all of the historical events that you can think of, I think this is one of the most horrific. And yeah, I find it endlessly fascinating. So there we are. Hope you're enjoying these vlogs. Please put down below which bits of it you thought were quite interesting that you'd like to read yourself, or stuff you've read already. And see you in the next vlog. Thanks for watching. Stay curious.
Paint me a picture